Chapter 861. The Death of Onoki. Damn bastard. While Onoki was cursing secretly, the whole person had already come to the sky. This is going to work, and now he shows an unbelievable look. With a face that was already rotten, it was completely impossible to see what kind of emotion it was. Complicated, thrilling, angry, desperate. Of negative emotions appeared one after another. For Onoki, the Gongyi in front of him has subverted his three views. Be able to have something under his Jinten particle style and still be intact. Shoo. This time, when Onoki just thought of this, he just happened to avoid Gongyi's Jin-dun longsword. Now it's almost half a millimeter, half a second, and Onoki's body will be penetrated. Tsuchikage, now your death will bring peace to the ninja continent, so stop struggling. When Onoki thought of this, a voice suddenly appeared. Onoki's heart sank, and he couldn't help but look up. Gongyi, who didn't know when to turn on sage mode, actually stood quietly above his head. Obviously, Onoki didn't react at all. Even if Gongyi didn't speak, Onoki didn't seem to notice. Was a person standing on top of his head. Seeing that Gongyi could actually walk in the air like this at this moment, Onoki's face was even more ugly. He couldn't help but secretly said, "It's really careless." Originally Onoki, the reason why he was fighting with Gongyi without fear. Then he still took advantage of his advantage in the air and felt that he could leave in the air even if he lost in the end. However, after seeing Gongyi in sage mode, Onoki suddenly remembered. Hokage in front of him is also one of the few ninjas in the ninja world who can fly. Thinking of this, after that, Onoki, who is now a kung fu, is really speechless. The whole throat seemed to be blocked in an instant. Quote. At this time, Gongyi, now looking down at Onoki, did not speak. It will take a while. You can clearly see that Gongyi's face is full of indifference. In those pair of dark eyes, there is a kind of fierce killing intent that has no demonstration at all. It can be seen that, now that this time, Onoki's face is full of despair. His own Jinten particle style, if he can't really effectively fight back against him, then all his ninjutsu will only be a waste of chakra. Shoo. At this time, Gongyi didn't pay attention to Onoki at all. He would now point forward, where Onoki was. The Jin-dun long sword is extremely fast, and it cannot be beaten at all. On Onoki's side, he didn't even react. I saw a golden light flashing in front of his eyes in an instant. Immediately afterwards, all the thoughts in his mind stopped. When he felt his body cool, the whole chakra was leaking frantically. Onoki, his whole body fell in the air. How is this possible? Onoki stared, and fell to the ground with a look of disbelief. The ninja continent has been traversing the ninja continent for many years, and at the same time, Iwagakure village has been open to the most prosperous era of Tsuchikage. Killed on the spot. Lord Tsuchikage. Damn, he actually killed Lord Tsuchikage. We've been tricked. He, Hokage of Konoha village, is the real traitor. This will be kung fu, all around. The few ninjas who have escaped from the trap can't help but curse with pale faces. Obviously, everything in front of them made them all equally unbelievable. The speed of the two fighting was so fast that no one of them could react at all. At the same time, when they really want to help Onoki. Gongyi's long sword, which was about to turn into a golden light, had completely pierced Onoki's body. Therefore, now a group of ninjas who escaped by chance, even though they wanted to help Onoki, were in a state of powerlessness. Hee, don't worry, you are soon too. Gongyi lowered his head and sneered, looking down at the few surviving ninjas. And just as Gongyi's voice fell, the avatar of consciousness that had been motionless all the time also moved. His strength is very strong, and at this moment, he has completely reached the level of cage level. This time, he has already started to enter these ninja groups to start killing. The Jin Dun long sword that Gong Yi had just released had naturally not disappeared. It also cooperates with the avatar of divine consciousness, and it is constantly killing here. There were not many ninjas before, but now they are suppressed by two incomparable forces. Corpses have been appearing. It can be seen that they are all despairing of their efforts now. Above there are people who suppress the entire ninja continent, guarding them here. In front of them is their former company captain, who is also Iwagaker's Anbu captain. Their strength is simply unstoppable. On this side, there is also Gong Yi's golden dun long sword, which is even more frightening. It keeps turning into golden light and shuttles. That encounters it will completely turn into a corpse. No one can escape directly in front of its eyes. Not even Onoki, let alone a group of ordinary ninjas. In just a short time, the ending of everything is actually no longer needed. They already know that the death of themselves and others is only a matter of time. Not long. The end of the many ninjas, although they resisted for a while. But they have all become the avatars of divine consciousness, the souls of the dead under the long sword of Jin Dun. Just a short while, the whole surrounding that was still chaotic and noisy now has been quiet. On it lay dense corpses, all of which belong to the ninja coalition. This will work, and no one can escape it now. By the divine consciousness clone was completely wiped out. Everything has been cleared up, Master. At this moment, the consciousness clone flashed over, looked at Gong Yi and whispered. That's right, now, we won't have anything to do next. Gong Yi looked at the flames in front of him, and he couldn't help but draw a smile. After Onoki's death, no one in the entire ninja continent can threaten him. Next, only Uchiha Obito and Uchiha Madara are left. Otsutsuki Kagaya had. Get rid of them all, and the ninja world can be completely unified. Chapter 862. Comprehensive Suppression. The night was peaceful. After solving Onoki's side, Gong Yi has returned to Uchiha Obito with the avatar of his consciousness. How are things going? Walking into a cave, Gong Yi looked at Uchiha Obito in front of him and asked. It's all settled. Uchiha Obito turned his head sideways, looked at Gong Yi and smiled. Now the first company over there has been slaughtered by impure world reincarnation ninjas. Oh. Hearing Uchiha Obito's answer, Gong Yi didn't. You showed surprise. Obviously, Gong Yi didn't expect that Uchiha Obito would be so efficient. After he had eliminated Onoki, the first company led by Captain Anbu of Kumogakure village would be eliminated. Then it seems that Kimimaro is the only one left. The third company. After thinking about it carefully, Luo Hao couldn't help muttering to himself. Everything now is actually a bit beyond Gong Yi's expectations. The whole plan went very smoothly without any twists and turns. And this meeting, now on Kimimaro's side, is probably about to be arranged. In fact, only Uchiha Obito and Uchiha Madara are left. This is the remaining tailed beast chakra, all for you. Gong Yi threw 2 scrolls directly to Uchiha Obito. On it are the chakras of the last 2 tailed beasts. When Uchiha Obito gets them, they can immediately resurrected 10 tails. Yes. At this moment, I saw Gong Yi handing it over to his tailed beast chakra so happily. On top of Uchiha Obito, his whole body showed a look of horror, obviously completely in disbelief. So far, Uchiha Obito is starting to be a little skeptical. Because according to the situation so far, it doesn't fit Gong Yi's character at all. At the same time, Uchiha Obito's heart is also constantly thinking. He wanted to know why Gong Yi was suddenly so happy now. What's the matter, you don't want it? Gong Yi, who was too lazy to entangle with Uchiha Obito, frowned and asked. The whole plan has been carried out to the final step. Therefore, he didn't have any thoughts at all to play any tricks with Uchiha Obito. After Kimimaro's side was over, I got rid of Uchiha Obito by myself. Then finish Uchiha Madara and Otsutsuki Kagaya. Then stay in the Konoha village. The 20,000 Konoha village ninjas can immediately suppress the entire ninja continent. Is no need to worry about the Sunagakure village known so far, because there is Gaara here. Of Iwagakure village, now there is a body. And Terumi May of Kurigakure village has long since surrendered to herself. In the case of Kumogakure village, now the deputy Reikage Dodai is dead, and the captain of Anbu is also dead. At the same time, they already had great ninja power, and they were completely weakened by themselves. Basically, a simple calculation left the hostile Uchiha side. Soon, Gung-Yi thought of this, and his whole body was immediately cloned with divine consciousness. Left here. Tailed Beast has given Uchiha Obito. If he is willing to believe, then it is best to revive Ten Tails as soon as possible. If you don't want to believe it, then Gung-Yi doesn't matter, anyway. He won't be able to get the chakra of the other tailed beasts. Therefore, Gung-Yi now clearly knows that this will work, and Uchiha Obito must unconditionally believe in himself. Because he has absolutely nothing else to do except this. You go back to Iwagakure village now, and put the loyal ninja in your hands immediately. Mobilize, and then seize control of the village of Iwagakure. Dodging to a jungle, Gung-Yi looked at the avatar next to him and said, "The matter is nearing the end, so there is no need to hide and tuck." Yes. The divine consciousness clone nodded and left as well. At this moment, Gung-Yi's next arrangement is to go to Kimamaro's side. It was time for the third company he was leading to be destroyed. This time the fourth ninja war, although because of his own relationship, made the ninjas of the entire ninja continent immediately deficit. But Gung-Yi didn't care. Gung-Yi actually has quite a bit of experience with the training of ninjas. At the same time, now that he has unified the entire ninja continent, he can quickly cultivate a lot of them. Some evil ninjas, in fact, have no effect on Gung-Yi. They only add to their troubles. Not long. When this will be done, now that Gung-Yi's thoughts are here, he also dodges to reach Kimamaro's side. He leaves has almost no ninja power. He deliberately took it with him to weaken these ninjas. How could there still be survivors, Mr. Gung-Yi? Soon, the jungle ahead of the third company, and now Kimamaro is standing here. His eyes, Gung-Yi has arrived at this moment. How's it going, Kimamaro? Looking at Kimamaro, Gung-Yi immediately asked. Everything went well, I only have a few thousand ninjas left here. Kimamaro nodded and said to Gung-Yi involuntarily. Very good. Gung-Yi no. You curled his lips into a smile and said lightly. Then there is no need to demonstrate anything now, just get rid of them all, and we will directly start suppressing the entire ninja world. Yes, now all the plans have been completed. Then there is nothing to stop me. Here, Gung-Yi in front of me has no disguise. Damn, they are all dead. Then next, here is Uchiha Madara and Otsutsuki Kagaya. The whole plot is because of myself, and now there are a lot of deviations in this meeting. Particular, it can be seen that Uchiha Itachi and the Hokage of all dynasties have not been released by impure world reincarnation. This is naturally what Gung-Yi means, so I dare not refuse. Of those guys now will only disrupt Gung-Yi's plans. Therefore, it is better to let them continue to sleep for a long time. Gung-Yi is here, there is no need to use them at all. Boom boom boom. At this moment, there was a burst of explosions, followed by the screams of many people. Apparently, in just a short while, Kimamaro's side started to kill. Mr. Gung-Yi, it's all over. Soon, Kimamaro flashed over and came back here with a few Konoha Anbu members. Now you go back to Konoha village, gather all the remaining ninjas, and start right now. Total repression. Looking at Kimamaro, Gung-Yi said quietly. Understood, Teacher Gung-Yi. Kimamaro nodded, the whole person immediately dodge away. Chapter 863. Changes in the Ninja World Continent. Time flies. A week has gone by in a blink of an eye. In just a few days, the entire ninja continent has begun to change. Since Onoki had died, the avatar of consciousness took over the position of Tsuchikage and became the fourth generation of Tsuchikage. And here in Kumogakure village, because of the agent Reikage Dodai, and Kumogakure village ninjas suffered heavy losses. Therefore, at this moment, the group of dragons has no leader, and the village of Kumogakure has been completely defeated under the circumstance of insufficient strength. Kurigakure village, because Terumi surrendered, she also did not have any resistance here. And Gaara, who had surrendered to Gongyi long ago, did the same for the Iwagakure village he led. The entire ninja continent has now been gradually occupied by ninjas from Gongyi's Konoha village. Because of Gongyi's fame, this will be Kung Fu. Now, after his impassioned mobilization, all the ninjas in Konoha village are naturally willing to fight for him. There was a huge hatred between the village and the village before. Every ninja in Konoha village is also very supportive of Gongyi. After all, they feel that the rest of the villages no longer need to exist. Each of them has suffered from war, so they all hate war very much. Just a few days, the remaining 444 great ninja villages have been taken over by Konoha village unknowingly. The village of Kumogakure was powerless to resist, and the rest were left completely open. As for the rest of the ninja village, even though they are reluctant, the Order of the Shadows has been officially issued. So far, the entire ninja world has ushered in a major shuffle. At the same time, Konoha village and the ninja world continent were still invading their ninja village. Gongyi has come to the outskirts of the ninja continent. At this moment, a woman is standing quietly floating in front of him. She was wearing a white robe and had a look of indifference on her face. I saw the pupil above its forehead, which made people feel unusually eye-catching. That is Samsara Sharingan, and her pair of eyes is Byakugan. The identity has been revealed. Woman, who is the final incarnation of the entire Hokage ninja world, is the incarnation of the God Tree, and the god of creation of the ninja world, Otsutsuki Kagaya. At this moment, Uchiha Obito, who naturally eats the bitter fruit, was directly killed by Uchiha Madara after he resurrected Ten Tails. Come to the door. Although Uchiha Madara was brought out by impure world reincarnation, Gongyi deliberately pushed it secretly on the way. The restrictions of Uchiha Madara directly. Uchiha Obito, who wanted to start the Moon Eye project, was directly killed by Uchiha Madara. And Uchiha Madara, who was not happy for a long time, also became the vessel for resurrecting Otsutsuki Kagaya. This will be Kung Fu, and now as the witness of everything, Gongyi has stood in front of her eyes. This, the real ancestor of chakra, she is very powerful. Gongyi is not. I have to say, now finally in the entire ninja continent, there is one. Let him gradually get serious. The Otsutsuki Kagaya in front of her is the one, the real one. When this time comes, Gongyi is also right now. The outsider mode is turned on. The whole person is also wearing a white robe, and there is a request behind him. His appearance at this time is no less than the Otsutsuki Kagaya in front of him. Quote. When he saw Gongyi in front of him, he had become like this, and Otsutsuki Kagaya couldn't help but froze. She never imagined that the ninja in front of her could actually become like this, and at the same time. She stared at Byakugan because Otsutsuki Kagaya felt the power of Ten Tails. Her indifferent face at the moment finally began to appear a little bit of horror. Because I can't imagine that the ninja in front of him is actually a Ten Tails. No, that's not right. Otsutsuki Kagaya can't believe that if the ninja in front of him is a Ten Tails, then what kind of ninja rabbit hair needle is he? At this time, Otsutsuki Kagaya also no more thoughts. She knew that if she wanted to prove everything, then she only needed to get to know Akatsuki. True or false, can now be detected as well. Shoo shoo shoo. All of a sudden, Otsutsuki Kagaya's white hair, and now they are all starting to harden. Immediately after, countless slender white hairs, like silver needles, all shot towards Gongyi in front of him. Hee, let's end this soon. Gong Yi, who is also suspended in the air, is now a little earlier. The golden light burst forth, shining brightly on it. That Jin Dun transformed into was instantly isolated in the center of the two. The bang, bang, bang didn't stop. At this point, it can be clearly seen now. Otsutsuki Keigaya's terrifying ninjutsu can't shake Gong Yi at all. You can even see that the golden shield in front of Gong Yi is not damaged at all. Otsutsuki Keigaya is strong, yes, but now Gong Yi has completely surpassed him. Meanwhile, seeing the situation in front of him, the current Otsutsuki Keigaya is completely stunned. No matter how hard she tried to remain indifferent, it was a little unbelievable. Because, Gong Yi, who was in front of her at this meeting, shocked her too much. She couldn't imagine that such a situation would happen now. Such a ninja junior, so many unbelievable things would happen to him at this moment, she immediately. To kill Gong Yi, all killing ash bones. Raise your hand forward, and bones shoot out from Otsutsuki Keigaya's palm. They are terrifying, and there is a tyrannical pressure on them. Anyone who is hit by it will be on the verge of death in an instant, and it is impossible to defend at all. Keke Mora. At this time, when this ninja surgery is released, Otsutsuki Keigaya's whole body is immediately disappeared. Well, she went straight into the sky, which was like the inside of a black hole. Hee, is there a blood trail? Gong Yi looked forward indifferently, without the slightest surprise. As for this Keke Mora, Gong Yi still knows a little bit. It should be an ability that surpasses Keke Genkei and the elimination of blood. 7 nature transformations of fire, wind, earth, water, thunder, yin, and yang. In fact, if the current Gong Yi is studied well, then there will not be any difficulties. Simply, it's entirely possible that he could learn to hold to. For the rest of the ninja, this kind of thing is out of reach. But for Gong Yi, that's not the case. After all, he has completely mastered the power of the entire 10 tails, which is not comparable to ordinary ninjas. Same level as those ordinary ninjas. Chapter 864. Otsutsuki Keigaya. The fight between Gong Yi and Otsutsuki Keigaya intensified. At this moment, Gong Yi's Gudodama truth-seeking ball has transformed into a black long sword, constantly stabbing towards Otsutsuki Keigaya. But whenever she has been unable to resist the overwhelming Gudodama truth-seeking ball, she is always instant. Unlock the power of Keke Mora and get out of here. HMPH, I see how long you can keep using the power of Heaven's royal palace for a long time. Gong Yi's face indifferent could not help sneering, just like this quietly looking at Otsutsuki Keigaya ahead. It is an auxiliary type of ninjutsu. Also has reincarnation Sharingan. Otsutsuki Keigaya, the technique used. Its function is very simple, that is, to be able to transfer the world where you are and the people around you to other spaces in an instant. And the space that can move includes lava, ice, supergravity, sand, acid and other spaces. And these 555 spaces are directly connected with the starting ball space. In the starting ball space, Otsutsuki Keigaya can absorb the chakra of the infinite Tsukuyomi person to restore and improve his strength. Basically, if he is forcibly pulled into this space, there is no ninjutsu that can be resisted. Relying on ordinary external forces, it is impossible to return to the original world. For other people, it is indeed a very terrifying ninjutsu. However, Gong Yi has not cared at all about Otsutsuki Keigaya. Studying for so long, Gong Yi already knew the basic abilities of Otsutsuki Keigaya. That's why, in fact, since the two fought, Gong Yi completely suppressed Otsutsuki Keigaya. Despite her terrifying strength, she is a real 10 tails. But no matter what, she turned to Gong Yi, completely at a loss. Jin Dun sword formation. Open. At this time, Gong Yi's thoughts stopped. At this moment, he didn't think too much about other things. Currently, my last obstacle is Otsutsuki Kagaya in front of me. As long as you get rid of her, then everything will be over. In the entire ninja world, there will be no one who threatens him at all. At this point, my original plan, and everything I thought, can finally come to an end. Kang, a sound of sword chirping came out. Otsutsuki Kagaya just appeared in the ego space. She immediately. Looking around, he was completely surrounded by the Jin-dun sword formation. Sword is in sight, and her white face at the moment is even reflected in golden yellow. Every golden long sword has the meaning of slaughter. Die. Gong Yi's thoughts moved, and he immediately raised his hand and pointed forward. Shoo shoo shoo. The sound of breaking the sky came one after another, and all the swords of golden escape immediately crossed towards Otsutsuki Kagaya. Speed is extremely fast, and it has even transformed into a golden light. But if any ninja faces such an attack, he will definitely immediately endangered. Byakugan coercion. Otsutsuki Kagaya glared at the pair of Byakugan immediately, and an invisible coercion descended. Then, they immediately spread forward and around. But unfortunately, this kind of power that makes people feel very uncomfortable, but there is no Jin-dun sword formation that can threaten Gong Yi. They carry a sharp cold light, blooming with endless killing intent, and they have arrived in the blink of an eye. Otsutsuki Kagaya's eyes. At this time, almost instantly. Otsutsuki Kagaya didn't dodge anymore, but immediately. The whole body begins to swell. Immediately, now her entire body is huge and has become a rabbit-like shape. The reincarnation Sharingan in the center of her forehead is very eye-catching and represents her identity. The form of a tailed beast. In the face of Gong Yi's golden sword formation, even though it is Otsutsuki Kagaya, she cannot really use all her strength to resist. Because she could clearly feel that the young ninja in front of him would really kill him. Not a seal, but a real erasure. Crash. In an instant, Otsutsuki Kagaya, the tailed beast, began to transform into a lot of chakra arms from her huge body. Every white arm, with a devouring power, grabbed towards Gong Yi's Jin-dun sword formation. All Jin-dun long swords, although extremely sharp, are completely unstoppable. However, this is a skill, and after facing the tailed beast Otsutsuki Kagaya, it did linger for a while. After all, no matter what is in front of you is the ancestor of the ninja continent, and the big one in the entire Hokage. Seeing that the Jin-dun sword formation in front of him had already begun to be hindered, Gong Yi was not surprised at all. Gong Yi could have imagined such a situation for a long time. However, his expression remained calm, and there was no change at all. As if the Otsutsuki Kagaya in front of her terrifying tailed beast, was completely insignificant here in Gong Yi. I'll wipe you out this time. Quietly suspended in the air, watching Otsutsuki Kagaya in front of him still, resisting the Jin-dun sword formation. Luo Hao's whole person disappeared at this moment. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Otsutsuki Kagaya. The power from 10 tails, combined with his own power, Gong Yi's whole person's momentum immediately has changed. Onoki Kagaya, who turned into a tailed beast, at this time, she also had to shiver. The ninja who didn't care about himself before him, every time he made a move, he would make himself feel very surprised. Because of Otsutsuki Kagaya, she never saw it at all. After he was sealed, there was actually such a ninja that was comparable to him. It should be said that under such a situation, he has completely surpassed himself. Ning. Thinking of this, the tailed beast Otsutsuki Kagaya immediately. Open your mouth. Violet-black light began to gather around, all condensed in front of her mouth. A1 giant tailed beast bomb, now formed in the blink of an eye. A bang, almost as soon as Gong Yi arrived, tailed beast bomb blasted out. The two are almost only a few steps apart. Give me a smash. Seeing the huge tailed beast bomb in front, Gong Yi doesn't retreat and advance instead. Confidence was written all over his forward-looking face. A very obvious contrast with the appearance of Otsutsuki Kagaya. Now Gong Yi, his handsome face has already outlined a smile. He knew that getting rid of this Otsutsuki Kagaya himself would have no problem at all. A bang, Otsutsuki Kagaya's tailed beast bomb was completely defeated by Gong Yi. Next second, Gong Yi has come to Otsutsuki Kagaya's eyes. Chapter 865. Final chapter. When the war lasted for quite a while, Gong Yi had completely wiped out Otsutsuki Kagaya. That's right, it is truly destroyed, and there will be no existence in this world. Normally, as Otsutsuki Kagaya of 10 tails, she can only be sealed, but not killed. But it was because Gong Yi knew about this at the beginning, so in order to avoid future troubles, he thought of a way. And, after Gong Yi took advantage of this method, the ancestor of the ninja continent became a legend. At this point, the battle of the century in the ninja continent has completely come to an end. Half a month later. After getting rid of Otsutsuki Kagaya, Gong Yi has returned to Konoha village. And now everything, under his plan and orders, is all in order. Today, my dream when I crossed over to the ninja continent has finally come true. The entire ninja continent has been completely unified by himself. In this Hokage world, the supreme power is no longer the Otsutsuki surname. Instead, the dynasty has been completely changed, and only Gong Yi is the only one. 5 kingdoms. When Gong Yi got rid of the original 5 names, he secretly supported his own pawn to succeed him. Therefore, although the 5 kingdoms are still on the bright side, they are still in their own hands, while maintaining the ninja village as usual. It was already different. The entire 5 countries have been completely mastered by Gong Yi. And Sunagakur village, because of Gaara's relationship, has declared its surrender and joined Konoha village. Kurigakure village, because of Terumi Mei's sake, also like Sunagakur village, chose to surrender directly and joined Konoha village. In the village of Iwagakure, after Gong Yi got rid of Onoki, the avatar of his consciousness used his ninjas to quickly master the entire village, and successfully became the 4th generation Tsuchikage, so he returned as usual and joined the Konoha village. Here in Kumogakure village, they are more miserable. Acting Raikage Dodai, as well as Captain Anbu and other elites died, they were completely leaderless. At the same time, Gong Yi had deliberately weakened them because of the Ninja League. The worst loss is the Kumogakure village. Except for the ninja power who stayed in the village, the rest of the ninjas who went out were all killed, and none of them survived. That's it. It didn't take long for them to be reduced to an ordinary small ninja village. And Gong Yi secretly supported a ninja who was loyal to him, and directly mastered Kumogakure village. As for the other little-known villages in the ninja world, Gong Yi naturally did not let it go. Any factor, it is very likely that there will be some unexpected deviations in the end. So I dispatched tens of thousands of ninja powers to completely conquer and occupy the entire ninja continent. Kill all those who threaten you, and kill all those who have a tendency to threaten you. I'd rather kill by mistake than let it go. Consolidating his position in the early stage, and at the same time, Gong Yi will naturally not have any soft-hearted. It's not long. A month later, the entire ninja continent was completely in Gong Yi's hands. After unifying all the powers of the 5 great ninja villages and the rest of the ninja villages, Gong Yi didn't let them go back to their respective villages, and then went to control them separately in Konoha village. According to all the plans, Gong Yi officially changed the village of Konoha to the country of Konoha. The rest of the shinobi villages have all joined the Konoha country. The remaining 5 countries have all become vassal states. Of the major ninja villages all began to be mixed up and then dispersed again. In almost a few days, the power of all the ninja villages completely disintegrated. As for Kimimaro, Hyuga Neji, and Sasuke who followed Gong Yi directly entrusted them with important positions. And Jiraiya, and older ninjas like Nara Shikaku. They did not want to participate in Gong Yi's politics, but chose to hide in the village. As for Tsunade and Terumi Mei, these two women have an emotional connection with Gong Yi, but they don't understand it. Under the gradual guidance of Gong Yi's side, they are also willing to become the women who support him behind him. Painted pear clothes, palace bells. These two women who were almost in the palace, Gong Yi also did not forget them. The two who have been with him all the time, Gong Yi will naturally give them a real identity. There is also Naruto, the restless Kyuubi, Nine-Tails person Jinchuriki, column force, after Gong Yi uses a secret technique to extract the Kyuubi, Nine-Tails, from his body. Naruto followed Jiraiya and ran out to practice. As for when it will come back, then there is no way to know. Apparently, Naruto, who has left the power of Kyuubi, Nine-Tails, Jinchuriki, column, now prefers freedom. Everything is like a dream. Sitting quietly in a large chair, surrounded by a magnificent main hall. This is the central palace of the Konoha country. And its site is the center of the entire Konoha village. Now with the insanely abundant funds, the entire Konoha village is no longer a village. It is even bigger than any other country. With his thoughts here, Gong Yi slowly got up on the throne. He took a walk, and now he was outside. Beneath the high platform is the lively country of Konoha. The countless people here are all living and working in peace and contentment. And the ninjas gradually began to recognize and accept all this. Because with the passage of time, everyone knows that after the real unity is achieved, there is no war, there is no parting of life and death, and there is no intrigue. Everything is moving in a thriving direction. As for the nine-tailed beast, as soon as he erased Otsutsuki Kagaya himself, pull it all out. Although they are nothing to themselves. But the nine-tailed beasts are still the most authoritative and tyrannical deterrent weapons for the ninja continent. This time, they were also tamed by themselves, and they were also sealed under the palace of the Konoha kingdom. If something goes wrong, the last trump card. The sky gradually began to brighten. The gloomy dark clouds over the sky were already there. Dispersed, a golden light penetrated and reflected the entire Konoha country. A round of dazzling sun, it bloomed at this time and slowly rose. It's all over. Looking up at the sky, Gong Yi's handsome face showed an incomprehensible smile. Dazzlingly for decades, at this moment, I finally stood on the apex of this world. Slowly closing his eyes, the terrifying sense of consciousness spread instantly. The whole country of Konoha is already under the shroud of Gong Yi. A new journey seems to be about to begin. Enter. 866. A new journey. At this moment, it has been almost 3 months since Gong Yi ruled the entire Konoha village. Although there is no need to fight and kill every day, as long as it is enough to deal with political affairs in the palace, Gong Yi's heart feels abnormally empty. It has been more than a few years since I crossed here. Few years, he basically spent every day fighting and killing, and even had to be on guard at night, but now he suddenly regained his tranquility, and he really couldn't get used to it. Start a war for his own selfish desires, and the whole ninja world is already his. He can fight who the current Gong Yi understands. 3220. What is helpless? King, it's time to sleep. Just when Gong Yi was standing on the balcony and was bored, a maid walked in, bowed to him, and said. Gong Yi sighed and had no choice. After nodding his head, he asked the maid to change his clothes and then lay down on the bed. Perhaps it was because of the busy work he had recently, that as soon as he approached the pillow, he felt drowsiness, and after yawning, he fell into a deep sleep. But at this moment, Gong Yi still doesn't know that a new journey is about to kick off. The next morning, Gong Yi rolled on the bed. He was confused and didn't know what was going on today. It's so hard all of a sudden, it looks like it's time to consider replacing it. However, when he wanted to pull the quilt and continue to sleep, he could not touch the quilt. The cold wind blowing by around him made him a little unclear. So, he felt that his head was also hard. Gong Yi was not stupid. He obviously felt something was wrong. Sit up straight. However, when he saw the environment in front of him clearly, he was instantly stunned. He is now on a piece of land, and there is nothing nearby, which makes him vigilant for a moment. Welcome to the world of pirates, waiting for a long time. Just when Gong Yi didn't. Mingso was checking the situation around him. A sound suddenly came from his mind, making him a little overwhelmed. Gong Yi couldn't see who was talking, and couldn't feel who was talking, so he couldn't help asking, who? For the first time into the world of pirates, I will give you a duplicate fruit and double hearts, please select the initial map. Voice did not answer Gong Yi's question, and continued to speak his own words. After that, the voice of the words disappeared, and what was presented in Gong Yi's face. I saw a big screen in front of him, a white fruit in the screen, but the shape was indescribably strange. Looking at everything in front of him, Gong himself digested the purpose as quickly as possible. It seems that he has crossed into the world of pirates, so the thing in front of him is undoubtedly the devil fruit. Thinking of this, Gong Yi clenched his fists, and clicked on the duplicate fruit on the screen. In the next second, a light flashed in front of the screen, and the copy fruit was in his hands. Looking at this devil fruit, Gong Yi was eager to try it. Without hesitation, he swallowed the whole fruit in one bite. Cough, so unpalatable. The moment he swallowed the devil fruit, Gong Yi could not wait to spit it out in one breath, because the taste of this thing was so incomprehensible. But this devil fruit, he had to eat again, so he had to cover his mouth and try not to spit it out. After a few seconds, the whole devil fruit was eaten by Gong Yi. Just when Gong Yi finished eating this fruit, the half of the screen where the copy fruit was originally displayed changed its appearance in an instant. I saw the text on it. Name, copy fruit ability. Instructions for the ability to copy all fruits, just touch it. But looking at the explanation of the replica fruit, Gong Yi twitched the corners of his mouth. The existence of the replica fruit seems to be a heaven-defying one. With this fruit, it means that he can use all the devil fruit abilities in this world. After the excitement, Gong Yi didn't forget to look at the other half of the screen. The other half of the screen was full of text, and it was written, first starting point, sea restaurant second starting point, water capital third starting point, judiciary tower fourth starting point, advanced city 13th starting point, Dressrosa's 14th starting point, Cake Island. From these, it can be seen that these are One Piece. The location of the big event. Gong Yi also knows about One Piece, so he naturally understands these things. After some hesitation, Gong Yi tapped the screen 1. The fourth starting point on 6 is the advanced city, which is the original piece of One Piece, the beginning of the war. 4. This war, Gong Yi's memory can be said to be very clear. Because in this war, the second captain of the Whitebeard pirates, Ace, died. If possible, he would like to try to save Ace. For the role of Ace, Gong Yi still has some feelings. I don't want Ace to have an accident. Successful selection of the location, about to jump, the system is about to disappear, please work hard for the next. System sounded a notification sound again, and the lights went up and down, and when Gong Yi opened his eyes again, he was already in the advancing city. 867. The second interloper. All units pay attention, all units pay attention, the pirate straw hat has appeared again, and chaos has occurred on all levels. Please take care of the doors on each floor and take preventive measures. Just when Gong Yi arrived at the advanced city, the voice of a phone bug rang out in the advanced city. It was easy to tell from his voice that the person who spoke was the deputy warden of the advancing city. It looks like it's a little late. Gong Yi looked at the third floor of the city in a mess, and chuckled, as if it was a little late. But it doesn't matter, it's too late now. If he remembers correctly, the Straw Hat Boy is now on the 6th floor. What he has to do next is, from the 3rd floor, release all the pirates who are locked up, and respond to the Straw Hat Boy who is on the 6th floor at this time. Then to release all the pirates, there must be a key, but he doesn't have one. Release the pirates now is to find them. copy his ability to make keys. If he remembered correctly, now. You should run up with Bucky the Clown, and if you go to the exit now, you might get blocked. Exclamation mark. Thinking of this, Gong Yi just started to look for this clip in memory and needed to determine the location of the exit. After thinking about it for a while, Gong Yi started running in one direction, and sure enough, he saw Bucky the Clown and the figure. Wait a minute. Gong Yi walked over front of him, blocking his way, said. Looking at Gong Yi, he didn't know why he didn't seem to know such a number one person, so he couldn't help asking, "Who are you?" "I'm here to help you. Hurry up, make a key to a seafloor stone cage." Gong Yi doesn't care about peace now. Talking too much, after a brief talk, he began to ask for the key. He wasn't sure when Luffy would come, so he could only hurry up. "What do you do with the keys?" "Right there." When he was about to make the key, the clown Bucky asked. Gong Yi was speechless. He forgot that there was another Bucky here, the so-called never lost a fight, never won a fight. What he said was, "Bucky the Clown." Gong Yi naturally didn't want to spend money with Pakistan. Said, "Use it to save you. Quick." Looking at Gong Yi's tough attitude, although a little unclear, he made a key at Gong Yi's request. "Look." The candle key in his hand, Gong Yi touched it. The key in his hand, with his own thoughts, he wanted to make the same key. Looking at Gong Yi's equally melted right hand, everyone was surprised and said, You, how can you have this ability? Impossible. Couldn't believe what was happening in front of him, the rules and regulations of devil fruit, he was clear. Now there is a person with the same ability as him, which makes it possible for him to accept. Don't ask so many questions, just go straight ahead, and you can go directly to the second floor when you see the stairs. Gong Yi didn't have so much time to answer their questions one by one, and wanted to perfunctory get away with Bucky the Clown. This trick is also useful. As soon as the two heard the exit on the second floor, they were so happy that they didn't want to ask any further, and ran wildly in the direction of the exit. 3 layers of attention, 3 layers of attention, find the clown Bucky and there is also an intruder. After confirmation, it is not the Straw Hat Boy, but another intruder. Please take precautions on the 3rd floor. Just as Gong Yi was about to release the prisoners on the 3rd floor, the voice of the phone bug rang suddenly. Gong Yi frowned slightly, finding out a little too quickly, faster than he thought. Not good, I was found, run. Clown Bucky and naturally, he heard the voice of the phone bug, so he was so frightened that he hurriedly fled, and if he was caught, it would be bad to go back. But for this situation, Gong Yi didn't panic, just try his hand, the ability of his new fruit. Thinking of this, Gong Yi didn't run away, he walked to the cage and started to release the prisoners. Hey, boy, the Navy will be here soon, run away. When driving to a cage, a man inside said to Gong Yi. He also knows how to repay his kindness. Since Gong Yi is willing to let them go, he is naturally willing to repay his kindness. But he didn't really want others to give up their lives just like that. Unfortunately, Gong Yi shook his head, not intending to run, and then continued to free the people in the cage. In less than 10 minutes, the Navy's people were unable to drain the entire 3rd floor. Little devil, who are you with the straw hat? After a while, the Navy swarmed in, looked at Gong Yi who was unlocking everyone, and asked cautiously. But Gong Yi wasn't interested in answering their questions, and still opened the lock on his own. Even the prisoners' advice was not heeded. Damn, shoot. When the Navy leader saw that he was being laughed at by an unknown person, he was naturally angry and waved his hand, causing all the navies to start attacking. Next, the Navy bullets rained down, as if to turn everyone into a hornet's nest. Candle Fort. Gong Yi didn't show weakness either, he used it. The move formed a candle fortress, which blocked all the bullets for a while, saving everyone from dire straits. 868. Gong Yi alone stopped the entire three-story navy. No matter how they fought, they couldn't break Gong Yi's Candle Fortress. Seeing this, let the navy and all the pirates be shocked for two things. First, Gong Yi can actually be used. The fruit ability, and the second is that this Candle Fortress can actually block all attacks. Who are you and why are you there? The ability did you kill? Took his abilities. A vice admiral looked at Gong Yi with questioning on his face. Gong Yi also scoffed at the question from the navy. Here, fools all know that after the ability person dies, the fruit will be regenerated elsewhere, not transferred to the person who killed the ability person. If the ability person dies and the ability of the fruit is directly transferred, then it is estimated that many people in the world will explode because of the double fruit. What about you? Damn, how dare you ignore me? After the vice admiral was ignored, the whole popularity was different. Gong Yi chuckled. He didn't want to say anything more to this kind of person. In the navy of this world, he knows how many people do some immoral things in the name of justice. Candle shells. Gong Yi continued to ignore the lieutenant general, supporting the candle fort with one hand and starting to release cannonballs with the other. His candle cannonballs were much harder than the useless cannonballs of the navy. At this time, Gong Yi also noticed something was wrong. If he remembers correctly, the ability of the fruit should not be so hard. After receiving thousands of bullets, there is no damage at all. This makes him want to think about the specific ability of the replica fruit, but this will be discussed after the war is over. The candle shells thrown by Gong Yi wounded many navies, and the navy was hit directly at the vital point. He was killed on the spot. Seeing this scene, the lieutenant general with soldiers as shields came out. Next second, the lieutenant general disappeared in place, and when he reappeared, he appeared directly behind Gong Yi. But Gong Yi's reaction was not slow, and the lieutenant general's fist was about to hit him. At that time, he dodged backwards, dodging the well-known attack from the lieutenant general, but was still hit. Gong Yi doesn't. Ban frowns and attacks the lieutenant general with swift hands and eyes, but only brushes against him. I'm not a lieutenant general for nothing. We'll go to the position just now. Looking at Gong Yi, his face is full of pride. As if saying I'm the best, you're trash. Are you also capable? Gong Yi looked at the lieutenant general and understood that he was also a capable person. Yes, I am a speed man who has eaten speed. If you can't beat me, you can capture it. Lieutenant smiled and replied. Gong Yi is not stupid. The fruit of speed, as the name suggests, is to increase the speed. This speed can be said to be faster than the shaved in the 36 types of the navy. Even faster. But at this moment, Gong Yi doesn't have much influence anymore, because he just met the lieutenant general, which means that he can use the lieutenant general's abilities now. Is it? Gong Yi curled the corners of his mouth lightly, but he didn't say much. He rushed towards the lieutenant general at the same speed as the lieutenant general, and then left a kick on his chest. Although the lieutenant general tried his best to dodge, he still got hit. How could it be? Lieutenant general was kicked aside, clutching his chest, unable to believe that what happened in front of him was true. Don't waste my time. After Gong Yi finished speaking, he rushed to the lieutenant general's side again, and another punch landed on the lieutenant general's face. The so-called lieutenant general, unconscious on the spot, turned over by a Kugan, blood all over his nose and mouth. After dealing with the lieutenant general, Gong Yi continued to unlock the pirates on the third floor. All run, don't linger if you don't want to die. After Gong Yi released all the pirates, he clapped his hands and motioned them to hurry up and run. The pirates who were still at a loss when Gong Yi said this, immediately started to run out. It's hard to get a chance to get out of this ghost place, of course they have to hurry up. And just like that, the third floor was successfully thrown into chaos. Rubber machine gun. Dodge, 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 ace, wait for me. Just when Gong Yi was just messing up the third floor, A roar suddenly came from the connection between the 4th floor and the 3rd floor, accompanied by a roar, and a bunch of navy flew over from there, but they all lost their will. Gong Yi is all too familiar with the rubber machine gun. It is the original protagonist of One Piece, Monkey Luffy's move. But it's different now, the current protagonist of One Piece is his Gong Yi. Even so, Gong Yi still has to help Luffy. After all, he also I don't want Ace to die, that's the goal. Straw Hat. Come on, don't waste time with these navies. Luffy's side, Ivankov looked at the navy behind him and stopped Luffy who was about to hit him. And T have enough time, and if I spend more time dealing with these navies, how can I save Ace? Little Straw Hat, Ivan is right, let's go. Said the same thing as he was behind Luffy. I listened to Ivankov and... So, Luffy clenched his fists, nodded, and started to run up with all his strength, trying to throw off the navy. 869. Fighting side by side. Thicken the candle barriers. Just after Luffy, Ivankov and others came up from the 4th floor, Gong Yi pinpointed the time, released the candle barrier, and directly blocked all the navy at the exit. Matter how they attacked, the candle barrier never broke. Yes. After seeing the candle barrier, Luffy stopped, looked ahead, and said. However, Luffy looked forward and didn't see it. Only to see Gong Yi whose arms are changing from wax back to their original shape. Who are you and why do you have the ability of a small 3? I saw this scene. Immediately rushed forward, looked at Gong Yi, and questioned. Look close to yourself. Gong Yi took a few steps back with disgust on his face, sure enough. This face cannot be seen at close range, it is too lethal. However, Gong Yi took a step back. Just take one step forward, without going back at all. My name is Gong Yi, I am a copying ability person who ate the copying fruit, and can copy the ability of the ability person who has touched 320, you see. Gong Yi couldn't take it any longer. This face, pushed. After a while, I learned. The ability to transform his face into face. Wow, it's so awesome. After Luffy saw this scene, gold stars appeared in his eyes, like a curious baby. Unexpectedly, there is such an ability in this world, but I have never heard of it. Ivankov looked at Gong Yi and said. He is someone who has read the devil fruit illustration, but he has never heard of this ability at all. It seems that this is not a simple fruit. Don't linger, do you still want to save Ace? The 3rd floor has already let me release all of it. Hurry up and go to the 2nd floor. Gong Yi suddenly thought of something, looked at Luffy and the others and said. If you have time to linger here, why don't you hurry up and save Ace? Yes, thank you, Xiao Feng, let's go. After Gong Yi said this, Luffy instantly woke up and started to the exit on the 2nd floor, run. I'm with you, anyway. The purpose is the same, Ace, and he's also kind to me. Gong Yi wanted to act with Luffy and the others, but he couldn't think of a reason, so he gave out the excuse that he was saved by Ace. Luffy is also a kind person, Gong Yi helped them solve the navy, he naturally agreed. This way, Gong Yi successfully entered the temporary Straw Hat team. Damn, Ace, wait for me. Passers-by all burned, running faster than before, wishing to see Ace in the next second. I'll go to the 2nd floor to release the pirates. Gong Yi then flashed as fast as possible to the exit on the 2nd floor. This ability is really convenient and saves him a lot of time. When Luffy reached the 2nd floor, Gong Yi released all the pirates. At this moment, the advanced city is really all messed up. All of them followed behind Luffy and Gong Yi, and walked towards the exit. Exit, close at hand. Luffy looked at the exit, he couldn't restrain himself, he would see Ace soon. However, when they reached the outside of the advancing city, Ace's ship had already left the advancing city, but everyone could still clearly see the ship that escorted Ace. Yo, come up, Straw Hat Boy, unfortunately, Ace has been sent away. Magellan looked at Luffy and laughed. As long as Ace is sent away safely, his mission will be completed, which is naturally outrageous. Damn, Ace. Luffy was a step too late, shouting at the ship at sea with his loudest voice. And the ship that escorted Ace. It looks like your brother came out safely. The Navy man looked at Ace who was bound and chuckled. But even if it comes out, it's too late. Luffy, don't come. Ace bit Kiba and hoped Luffy wouldn't come over. Back to Luffy's side. Ace, damn it. Magellan, get out of the way, don't stop me from saving Ace. Luffy looked at the ship that was about to disappear from sight, and was anxious, but there was a Magellan standing in front of him. Another Navy ship, just behind Magellan. Get out of the way, Straw Hat Boy, I didn't expect your life to be so big, but that's it, I'm pushing the city, you can come when you want, and you can leave when you want to be what I am. Magellan looked at Luffy and kept breathing poisonous gas from his mouth, not giving way to Luffy. After all, Magellan did not forget to destroy the ship behind him. After a pool of venom was thrown, the ship was corroded by the venom. Ship. Luffy looked at the melting ship, that was the last hope. Damn, second gear, rubber tomahawk. Luffy looked at Magellan, his eyes were full of anger, and he directly released the second gears to attack Magellan. With the first round won, the threat of venom, now Luffy is not stupid, Magellan's venom can't hit him at all. After several rounds of attacks, Magellan fell to the ground, unconscious, and he couldn't beat Luffy. Damn, the ship is gone, how do we leave, Ace? Luffy looked at the boat that was full of holes and was full of resentment. Ace was right in front of him, but there was nothing he could do. 870. Go to Marin Fando. Looking at the destroyed ship, Gong Yi was also silent this time. If they followed the original plot, it stands to reason that they should be able to successfully use that ship to leave. Sure enough, his sudden arrival broke some original plots that should have existed. I have a way. Just when Gong Yi and others were silent, a pirate suddenly appeared next to him, saying he had a way. Gong Yi looked in the direction of the words, but did not expect that the person who was speaking was the only one who reminded him to be careful when he released all the pirates on the third floor. Really? Before Gong Yi could speak, Luffy asked first. Moment, Luffy and the others seemed to see the spark of hope being ignited again. Well, can you open this handcuff for me, it's inhibiting my ability. The pirate raised his hands and gestured. Hey, Mayor, have you forgotten how you got in? Don't worry about the extras. Just as Mayor was about to help Luffy, another pirate spoke up behind him. When the pirate said it, Mayor fell silent. He couldn't refute what the pirate said, because he knew how he got in. It doesn't matter, my life was saved by him. I wouldn't be able to come out without him. I should do me a favor now. Mayor pointed at Gong Yi and said. In any case, he is a man who repays his gratitude, and the past cannot prevent him from repaying his gratitude. Whatever you want. Seeing that he couldn't persuade Mayor, the pirate stopped talking, stepped back, and watched quietly, his eyes full of complicated emotions. Seeing that Mayor was willing, Gong Yi stepped forward and dissolved the key of a Halu stone handcuff with wax, and helped Mayor open the handcuff. Handcuffs fell to the ground, Mayor moved a little bit, and after leaving Halushi, he could also feel that his ability was no longer restrained. Then, Mayor stretched out his hand towards the sea and said, Copy and build. Next, you can clearly see that the wooden planks on the advancing city bridge and some of the steel in the advancing city are concentrated on the sea surface. After a Uzumaki wind blows, a warship that is exactly the same as the venom-corroded naval warship appears there. In front of the crowd. And this warship is still 3 times the size of the corroded warship. I am a builder who has eaten the fruits of construction, and can build things in my imagination based on existing materials. Mayor looked at the boat in front of him and said with a smile. Looking at Mayor's abilities, Gong Yi chuckled, but no one knew what he was thinking. What a big ship. Thank you. Without further ado, let's go. Luffy looked at the warship in front of him, very happy, and ran to the warship without saying a word. Because the warship is big enough, anyone who wants to go to Marin Vando together can fit it. As for those who didn't want to go, Mayer also built a lot of boats for them so that they could leave on their own. And Mayer chose to go to Marin Vando with Gong Yi and others. I'm going to sail. After getting on the boat, Jinbei went to the helm and sat down, ready to sail. Okay, target Marin Vando, set sail. Luffy jumped 3 feet high, and his loud voice did not show weakness. In this way, the group set sail and headed for Marin Vando. Although they will pass through the Judiciary Tower, Uzumaki Sea area, they are not worried. After all, they are riding on a naval warship. During the voyage, Luffy couldn't hold back his worry and ran in front of the ship, hoping to see the ship escorting Ace. However, the time they spent in advancing the city was really too much. No matter how they looked, they couldn't see Ace's shadow. In fact, they don't know that when the Admiralty escorts prisoners from the advancing city, they always take a secret route, to prevent the robbers on the way, so few people can know their real route. Even if they do know, they are basically silenced in the end. Gong Yi. Where did you get this fruit? During the journey of the boat, Ivankov walked to Gong Yi's side and asked Gong Yi. Ivankov's eyes were full of doubts, and Gong Yi knew that he didn't trust himself. This fruit is inconvenient to disclose the secrets related to our family. Gong Yi thought again and again, but decided to use the family secret to prevaricate the past. He couldn't tell Ivankov that he came from another world, and this fruit was given by the system, so it is estimated that everyone would treat him as a monster. Not only that, but maybe because he was hunted down by predators, he is not strong enough now. It is better to keep a low profile. Thinking of this, Gong Yi didn't want to talk to Ivankov again. He said perfunctorily, I'll go over there to see if there's Ace's whereabouts. After saying that, Gong Yi went to the other side of the boat and ignored Ivankov. The voyage along the way was very smooth, and when we reached the door, the judicial tower was also opened. Just as they thought, the Judiciary Tower will open the door without saying a word when it sees a naval warship. It's just that Gong Yi thinks it's not very simple. The Navy is really vigilant at such a low level, or it's still in extraordinary times. 871. I met Ace for the first time. Although he doubted it, Gong Yi didn't make too many guesses. In any case, they all successfully passed the naval headquarters. If Gong Yi was right, then the current Marin Vando, the top war should have already started. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the ship, and the hull stopped sailing. What happened? What happened? When Luffy saw the boat stopped, he became anxious and looked at the surrounding environment, not knowing why. Straw Hat. Our ship is frozen on ice. After Ivankov looked around, he said to Luffy. As Gong Yi thought, their ship was frozen by Aokiji's abilities, but this was purely coincidental. For the next thing, there is no need for Gong Yi to take action for the time being, just wait for their next move. Later, after Luffy and Ivankov discussed it, everyone got off the boat and started slicing ice. As Gong Yi thought, they managed to fall. Next, it's time for Gong Yi to appear. Candle barrier. While falling, Gong Yi stretched out his hand against the wind and dissolved a huge candle board with wax under the bodies of many capable people. Because here in the original plot, all of them fell into the hot pool that was melted by Akainu, that is, the dog Yuhi. Since most of them are capable people, it wasted a lot of time. Making candle barriers ahead of time can save time. When everyone landed again, they were already on the battlefield above the war. I have to say, Gong Yi and the others happened to land right in front of Ace's execution stand. This. After Luffy saw Ace, the whole person became excited, stood on the spot, and used his best voice to yell at Ace. And Luffy's voice was so loud that he could be heard in the vicinity of the entire execution platform. This is also the first time Gong Yi sees Ace, as he thought, he is still handsome, and it makes people feel distressed. Execution. Just as Luffy was about to save Ace, Sengoku announced that he was about to be executed. Gong Yi was stunned when he saw this scene. As expected, the original plot has undergone many changes because of his arrival. Even when he just arrived, Ace was about to be executed. Stop, stop. Gong Yi looked at Ace, who was about to be executed. He couldn't tell what he felt in his heart. He only knew that he wanted to save Ace. But then, an incredible thing happened. After Gong Yi, on the execution stand, including below, many pirates and navy fainted, and the people who were tortured. The next moment, Gong Yi froze in place. This feeling, how could he not know that this is not the case? But Gong Yi did not expect that the person who prevented Ace from being killed was not Luffy, but him. Could it be that Luffy doesn't have the domineering look of an overlord anymore? But Gong Yi didn't have time to think about this, so he and Luffy rushed to the place where Ace was about to be executed. Luffy went through the path made by lightning, while Gong Yi chose the bypass. That's right, it's right below the execution platform. This is the most vulnerable part of the entire execution platform at this moment. As long as it is attacked a little, it will collapse. When everyone is not paying attention, go to collapse this torture platform, and Ace will be saved. And the next development is that Ace was beaten to death by the Yuhi dog. Whether it can be reversed here depends on him. Oh, it's a new face. Just as Gong Yi was running towards the bottom of the execution stand, suddenly, a flash of light appeared in front of him. After the flash was over, Kizaru's wretched face appeared in front of Gong Yi. Gong Yi frowned slightly, and subconsciously looked in the direction of Whitebeard. Who entangled with Whitebeard also became a Yuhi dog, not a Kiwi. Luffy, who was about to arrive at the middle floor of the execution platform, where Garp was, Gong Yi didn't. Ban spit. Was too late, there was no time to entangle with the yellow monkey here. After that, Gong Yi wanted to pass the yellow monkey, using the ability of the speed fruit, and wanted to run past. However, how could he compare to the shining kiwi, who ate the shining fruit? How could he compare to the speed of light, and was naturally stopped by Kiwi again? Don't get in my way. Gong Yi looked at Kizaru and said impatiently. Do you think it's possible? Kizaru looked at Gong Yi with a patient expression, quite interested, and then a beam of light condensed on his fingertips. The next second, the beam shot towards Gong Yi, no doubt being dodged. Instant, Gong Yi had an idea and hid in the direction of the execution platform. Kizaru didn't think much of it, and another beam of light focused on Gong Yi. However, Gong Yi jumped upwards, easily dodging the attack of the Japanese ape, and the attack of the yellow monkey just happened to hit the one on the execution platform. Jinchuriki column Sun. Looking at the crushed Jinchuriki column, Gong Yi chuckled and succeeded. Next second, Luffy was about to reach the execution platform, but because of the collapse of the execution platform, he fell down together. Ace was right in front of Luffy, but Luffy couldn't reach him. Yuhi Dog also sensed something was wrong here, and a ball of magma smashed over like this, and Luffy and Ace had no way to avoid it. 872. Ace's request. Just when everyone thought that Ace was helpless, Gong Yi and Ace rushed out of the fire. Although they were not completely intact, their injuries were not serious. It turned out that at the moment when the magma ball came, Gong Yi erected a huge and very thick candle barrier. Although the power was not as strong as the Yuhi Dog, no matter what, he successfully seized the opportunity to escape the crisis. Ace looked at the man in front of him who was holding his hand and desperately dodging the attack, not knowing what to say. Don't be too careless, proceed with caution. 2. Ace's surprised expression. Gong Yi didn't react too much, just helped Ace untie the handcuffs, left 8 words, and sent Ace to Luffy's side. Seeing how happy Luffy and Ace looked, Gong Yi didn't. Words. The original plot of One Piece has been disrupted by him, so what will happen next is not certain. That is to say, as long as Gong Yi is not careful, he may die anytime, anywhere. It is also this way that allows Gong Yi to become serious after a long absence. But in Gong Yi's expression, there is only eagerness and excitement. He has not participated in this kind of battle for a long time. What a worry-free boy, never seen before, new face. Just as Gong Yi landed, Kizaru also arrived at his side. As for Gong Yi's ability, Kizaru also sees it very clearly. To put it simply, Gong Yi's ability is completely comparable to that of the Straw Hat Boy, but he has never heard of such a character. From this, it can be judged that this is also a newcomer, boy. The newcomer, Gong Yi, General Yellow Monkey, please give me more advice. Gong Yi looked at Kizaru's easygoing expression and said after dodging his attack. As for Kiwin, Gong Yi can only be regarded as a flat-minded attitude. After all, Kazuna has not done anything that hurts the world. In the Navy, Kizaru is also a decent figure. The Yellow Monkey, Gong Yi wants to hide, he can't use it now. Ability. Seems that the copying ability of the copying fruit is not permanent, it is only short-term. Now all he can use is the medium speed ability that pushes the city. But in front of Kizaru's speed, the speed is simply. Banman is getting an axe, and where he is, he can only change his method. Kazuna, I'll deal with you. Just when Gong Yi was thinking, Ace's voice sounded behind Gong Yi. Gong Yi was stunned, but he didn't expect Ace to help him. Boy, thank you for saving me, I will leave it to me. Ace said without waiting for Gong Yi to speak. Gong Yi looked at Ace's smile, hesitantly, and then nodded. But the moment Ace came over, Gong Yi patted Ace on the shoulder with a moderate force, and then said thank you. By the way, boy, although I don't know you, I think you are still a good person. If possible, please take care of my younger brother instead of me. He always likes to mess around and may cause you trouble, but still please. Looked at Gong Yi and said before releasing the flames of his hands. Moment, Gong Yi was stunned, but he didn't stay stunned for too long, he quickly reacted, then nodded and agreed to Ace. Then, Gong Yi patted Ace on the shoulder. On the surface, it was to thank and reassure Ace, but in fact it was to borrow Ace's abilities. Next, Kizaru and Ace got into a hard fight, but Ace was still inferior. Gong Yi also doesn't have time to watch the battle here, what he wants to do is to change the plot of One Piece and prevent Ace and Whitebeard from dying. Now that there is no problem with Ace, the next thing to solve is against the white-bearded Yuhi dog, also known as Akainu. Watching the battle between Whitebeard and Akainu, neither of them will let the other. Seeing this, Gong Yi still couldn't help swallowing his saliva. He couldn't even beat Kizaru so far, and it was naturally impossible to defeat Akainu. Whitebeard, this is your burial place today. Just as Whitebeard fell to the ground in an instant, Akainu didn't give Whitebeard a chance to react at all, and was about to hit him with a punch. Dad. Looking at Whitebeard who was about to be hit, Ace was about to die of fright. He wanted to rush over, but was stopped by Kyabu. Ignore me, think about it, it's impossible. Kizaru looked at Ace's anxious look and said jokingly. Seeing that Whitebeard, the pinnacle king of the pirate era, is about to die, how could she let Ace get in the way? Damn, you dodge me. Fire fist. Ace, who was stopped, was even more anxious, so he rushed over with all his strength, to defeat Kizaru and go to Whitebeard's side. But the impulse is the devil, once Ace loses his mind, the attack will also become blind, and naturally he will be even more defeated by the Japanese ape. That can't be done. After Kizaru dodged Ace's attack, he went around behind Ace and aimed at Ace's back. With one kick, completely giving Ace no chance to fight back. On the other side, the Whitebeard has no strength to fight back, and is just lying on the ground, letting Akainu handle it. 873. Ace's tears. Akainu looked at the fallen Whitebeard, showing no pity, and reached out to fight. Gong Yi recognizes this attack and knows it all too well. Isn't this the same move that killed Ace in the first place? Could it be that this move is now used against Whitebeard? Dad. Looking at Akainu's upcoming attack, Ace is not the only one who is afraid. The Whitebeard pirates, everyone's eyes are focused here, for fear that something will happen to Whitebeard. Just when Akainu's fist was about to fall, Gong Yi suddenly appeared and used Ace's fire fist to interfere with Akainu's attack, and then said, "Stop it." This move was also useful, and he successfully blocked Akainu's next attack. But Whitebeard could barely move, and it was impossible to escape. The nick of time, Gong Yi hit Whitebeard's arm. With a single kick, with a lot of strength, and directly kicked Whitebeard aside. Down, everyone was stunned. What did they see? This boy dared to attack Whitebeard. "Thank you, kid." Whitebeard smiled instead of anger, looked at Gong Yi, and said, "Whitebeard is not stupid, nor is he an unreasonable person. Of course he knows that when Gong Yi kicked him, he was saving him." Although Gong Yi rescued Whitebeard, it also caused him to be trapped near Akainu. He rescued Whitebeard under Akainu's hands, so it's impossible for Akainu to let him go. "Little devil, you are not small." Next second, Gong Yi could clearly see the anger in Akainu's eyes. He is not stupid, he naturally knows that he has provoked Akainu. For Akainu's fist, Gong Yi doesn't. If he wants to sit still, he still uses his fire fist to try to resist. However, the result was different from what he thought. Akainu didn't even use his abilities too much, just a little spark, he could easily decipher his moves. Seeing this, Gong Yi secretly groaned badly. It seems that he may also be scrapped here today. "Little devil, go die." Akainu Gong Yi is nothing but the same, once again using the same trick he just used against Whitebeard, ready to take Gong Yi's life. Gong Yi is not stupid. He naturally knows that he may be killed by Huang Izumi. He is not afraid, he just closes his eyes and prepares for death. It's just that he didn't expect that when he just came here, he was going to die. He didn't know what would happen after he died. Akainu's fist fell, but Gong Yi couldn't feel the pain coming. Gong Yi felt strange until he felt blood splattered on his face, that he felt something was wrong. Instant, Gong Yi suddenly opened his eyes. And sure enough, Ace was standing in front of him, with Akainu's fist on his chest. Gong Yi understood that Ace helped him block the attack. Gong Yi, no. I dare to believe that what is in front of me is true. Ace actually helped him block the attack, and this picture actually matched a certain bridge in the original scene. It was Ace helping Luffy to block the attack, but now, Luffy has become him. You think about it carefully, there is really no difference. The original plot has not changed at all, but now the protagonist is him, so the things that should have happened to Luffy have undoubtedly been changed to him. Seeing Ace fall into Gong Yi's arms, everyone froze in place, unable to believe that what was in front of them was true. They didn't save Ace after all. "You saved me, Dad. I saved you, crap. It's even. Thank you. You help me tell Luffy, also, with everyone, yes, sorry. I still can't go back alive." Ace supported Gong Yi's body and stammered when he spoke. Despite this, Gong Yi still listened attentively. After Ace said these words, his eyes filled with tears and he closed his eyes. Gong Yi hugged Ace and remained silent. He still failed to save Ace. Ace was still in this war and lost his life. Ace, what's wrong with you? Get up, Ace. Just when Gong Yi was holding Ace silently, Luffy suddenly rushed over. Because of the tears swirling in Luffy's eyes, when Luffy ran over, he choked up, and finally almost fell in front of Ace. Luffy couldn't believe what happened in front of him was true. He almost burst into tears, desperately called Ace, shook Ace's body. Ace still didn't respond at all. Everyone knows that Ace is dead. Ah! Luffy looked at Ace and shouted up to the sky, as if he wanted to call Ace back. Next, Luffy lost his voice and knelt in front of Ace in a daze. Gong Yi knew that he had a nervous breakdown. Gong Yi was so angry that tears rolled in his eyes. He couldn't save Ace, but caused Ace to lose his life. He was really useless. Gong Yi, straw hat. In front of him and didn't know what to say, so he could only look away and not look at that scene. 874. Gong Yi's anger. who had closed his eyes and was covered in blood. The entire Marin Fando fell into silence, and all the Whitebeard pirates, as well as those who came to help Whitebeard, fell into silence. Everyone closed their eyes and mourned for Ace. Some people who had a very good relationship with Ace couldn't help shedding tears. They still failed to save Ace. Everyone, protect Ace's brother and that kid. Whitebeard wiped a silent tear, raised his long knife, and said. In Whitebeard's mouth is naturally Gong Yi. Gong Yi sat beside Luffy and Ace, unable to say a word. He was still too weak. Because when he was in Hokage, he ruled the whole world. Because of that little feat, he started I am complacent, thinking that I am still the most powerful in this world. After all, it was he who looked up at himself and acted recklessly, and only now did he realize how small he was. Little devil, don't be in a daze. Take Luffy away. Just when Gong Yi was in a daze, Akainu was about to attack again. Before Gong Yi could react, Jinbei reminded him. Being reminded by Jinbei, Gong Yi instantly reacted and dragged Luffy to the side with the speed fruit. However, the time for the fruit of speed has come, and he did not run too far. In the next instant, Whitebeard divided the land into two halves, blocking the navy by himself, and then creating escape time for the rest. Although they didn't want to leave, they couldn't let Whitebeard sacrifice in vain. They could only leave with tears. However, before they could take a few steps, another group of vice admirals stopped them and prevented them from leaving. At this moment, because of the injury just now, the number of people who can beat the Lieutenant General is not as good as those of the original. Lieutenant General, the number of people is completely suppressed. All the way, let me out of the way. Just at the crunch time, Gong Yi jumped out, his hands were in the shape of lava, and hit those Lieutenant Generals. Just one move, it instantly killed 1/3 of the vice admirals. In fact, the power range is not that large, but the Q of the naval station has an advantage for this trick, and it successfully kills 1/3 of it. Remember, my name is Gong Yi, I will avenge Ace's revenge sooner or later. Gong Yi fell into a frenzy, standing on the corpse of a vice admiral. His eyes were full, and the voice was so loud that the audience could almost hear it. After Gong Yi's words, half of the people present were almost stunned that Aishi was killed by Akainu. Gong Yi's current situation is almost no different from letting Akainu wash his neck and wait for him. Who is the dignified Heian Yuan, the Akainu who can't even beat the Whitebeard? Little devil. On the other side, Hawkeye looked at Gong Yi. His eyes were complicated, and he couldn't tell what he felt. That ability, I'm afraid. Looking at the generals such as Gong Yi and Kizaru who were fighting with the lieutenant generals, their expressions were a little dignified. Catch that kid and never let him go, he leaves. Sengoku's words interrupted everyone's thoughts. Of this fruit is known to their naval headquarters, and it is a superhuman replica of the fruit. To put it simply, this fruit is also the fruit that they have been looking for many years, but they never thought that they would see this fruit here. Have been eaten by humans. Superhuman fruits will awaken, and copy fruits will undoubtedly also, but this fruit is very different from other fruits. If the copying fruit awakens, needless to say, the admirals will know how difficult it is. If this person is from their navy, that's fine, but it is a pirate. If you can't use it for yourself, you can only kill it. Judging from the proficiency of Gong Yi's ability to use, it is not far from the awakening of the fruit, and before that, they must deal with this kid. And these ideas in the navy are naturally unknown to the pirates. At this moment, they still foolishly thought that the navy was afraid of Gong Yi-chung. When he grew up, he was going to make a ruthless attack. But after Sengoku's words fell, many people from the navy rushed over. Fortunately, the generals were all entangled by the Whitebeard, giving them time to escape. Since Gong Yi alone has killed 1/3 of the vice admirals, the next battle will be a lot easier. Mayor. When Gong Yi and the others were struggling to resist the navy, Gong Yi suddenly shouted. Because there were too many people, it was difficult for him to look for it, and he didn't know if Mayor had left, so he could only look for it like this. I'm here. Mayer did not disappoint Gong Yi's expectations and appeared in front of Gong Yi. It's up to you, ship. Gong Yi helped Meyer to stop the Navy and let Meyer go to build a ship. Now their biggest difficulty is that there is no ship to leave here, and the only person who can solve this problem is Meyer. Meyer nodded, then jumped to the side of the sea, looking at the sea, imagining the appearance of the ship in his mind, and secretly chanting a spell. The boat was lifted and dropped, several huge boats appeared in front of everyone, and those damaged boats also disappeared. So-called waste utilization. 875. First news, third. After the boat was ready, Meyer jumped on the boat first, and then shouted, Mr. Gong Yi. Everyone, get on the boat. After receiving Meyer's signal, Gong Yi released a Kainu's move again, separating the Navy and the pirates with fire, giving them time to escape. It won't last long, let's go. After Gong Yi released the magma, he jumped into the boat where Meyer was and said to everyone. After everyone saw that there was a boat, they jumped up without a word and prepared to leave. And waiting for them at the rear is the pirate Empress, Boyahan Cook's pirate ship. Where's Luffy? The Empress searched carefully on the two ships, but she didn't see Luffy's figure, so she couldn't help asking worriedly. Luffy he. Jinbei looked at the Empress, not knowing how to answer. What happened to Luffy? Looking at Jinbei's expression, the Empress' eyes were full of worry, for fear that something would happen to Luffy. Don't worry, the head of the Straw Hat is receiving treatment on my ship. There is nothing to do now, and the head of Gong Yi is also there. Just when the Empress was worried, a voice suddenly sounded beside her and said. Yes, it was Trafalgaro who came. When did Luo Luffy run off your boat? Jinbei looked at Luo, not knowing why. Why did he go to Luo's place when he just threw Luffy on the boat? Gong Yi brought him here. Don't worry, I won't do anything. The next question should be where to go. Luo looked at Jinping's vigilant eyes and said helplessly. They can't just float on the sea like this forever. Where the concubine is, even the Navy would not dare to intrude, it is absolutely safe. At this moment, the Empress said. After a few people thought about it, they were ready to go to the Queen's kingdom. The members of the Whitebeard pirates, and the rest of the pirates, also said goodbye to them here and left. Perhaps after today, the Whitebeard pirates will be completely dispersed. After arriving in the Empress' country, Gong Yi fell into a deep sleep, perhaps because he was too tired these days to fall asleep. When Gong Yi woke up again, there were countless loud noises in the forest. Gong Yi also knew that it was Luffy who woke up. But these loud noises didn't affect his sleep, and he fell asleep again. When he woke up again, he was surrounded by Shiping, Luo, Yi and Luffy who was eating like crazy. How long have I slept? Gong Yi looked at the sky and asked. One afternoon, but then again, look at the news. Jinbei answered Gong Yi's question, then handed him the newspaper. When Gong Yi got up, he could not help gasping for breath. Luo has already bandaged the wound on your body, but it will take some time to heal. Jinbei could see the question in Gong Yi's eyes and answered. Gong Yi nodded, then unfolded the newspaper and looked at the contents. The whole newspaper is undoubtedly talking about war. Gong Yi doesn't. You can't stop twitching the corners of your mouth, the speed is really fast. The newspapers reported the appearance of the 4 Emperor Shanks, as well as reports that the Navy headquarters had been severely damaged and the generals were injured. But because the scene was too chaotic at the time, he didn't know when the 4 Emperor Shanks appeared. He didn't know what happened on Whitebeard's side. On the other side of the newspaper made Gong Yi stunned. I saw a huge headline on the newspaper that read, Gong Yi, a newly born pirate boy, declares war on the representative of justice, Admiral Akainu. The content of the newspaper, a whole large section is to damage Gong Yi. For example, how bad Gong Yi is, it is comparable to a bad descendant. For these exaggerated content, Gong Yi chose to remain silent, but in any case, he successfully appeared in the newspaper. This also means that he is telling the world that he has been born out of nowhere. Boy, are you interested? Practice with me and Luffy. Just when Gong Yi was thinking about the next journey, Rayleigh suddenly said. Riley's words undoubtedly frightened Gong Yi. He did not expect that Riley was also interested in himself. Can you? Gong Yi asked tentatively. Riley nodded with a smile, but did not speak, expressing his acquiescence. Gong Yi looked at Rayleigh and laughed out loud. He was still thinking about how to ask Rayleigh to take him to practice together, and now Rayleigh actually expressed his willingness to practice with Gong Yi. Since there is nothing to do, I will go first. The Straw Hat is in charge, Gong Yi is in charge, there will be a period later. Seeing that he had nothing to do with himself, Luo was ready to leave. He appeared here to help Luffy and Gong Yi. Since neither of them has any major problems, he should leave. There will be an appointment later, thank you. Seeing that Luo was about to leave, Gong Yi bowed to Luo and expressed his gratitude. Hey, Luo, thank you for saving me, see you later on our great route. Luffy swallowed the food in his mouth and wiped away tears. Okay, I'll wait for you. Waved to Luffy and Gong Yi, then left. 876. Want to do a big thing. After Luo left, Jinbei was also ready to leave. Just tell Luffy to see you on Mermaid Island in the future. After all the dust settles, the day of Luffy and Gong Yi's training begins. By the way, I forgot to gather with my friends. Just when he was about to start training, Luffy remembered that he had to gather with his friends. Now that he is going to train here, what should his friends do when they go to the Chambord Archipelago and find themselves? In this section, Gong Yi naturally understands what Luffy wants to do, and also helps him to avoid the part that he needs to think about. Gong Yi's words, Luffy said he didn't know why. After all, he hadn't thought about it yet. This way. So, for the next period of time, Gong Yi was all talking to Luffy about the reason. After about half an hour, it was finally agreed. That's a good idea, let's go now. Luffy thought it was a good idea, nodded and looked eager to try it. Originally, only Luffy and Gong Yi were supposed to go, but Shippen and Rayleigh wanted to go with them. Jinbei said that he was afraid that Luffy would go wrong, while Rayleigh said that he thought it was fun and wanted to get involved. Although the goals were not the same, the four of them set off together. This time, Gong Yi doesn't plan to follow the original routine, he has to follow his own method and make a big fuss. The four of them reached the coast near the Empress' house, ready to leave. But the pirate ship will definitely not be able to enter the naval base, and if there is a disturbance in front of the door, no matter how big the storm is, it will not matter. Is there anything I can help you with? Just when a few people were thinking about what to do, Mayor appeared in everyone's sight. After seeing Mayor, Gong Yi's eyes lit up. As long as Mayor is there, it's not easy to enter the naval base. Just wave it. A warship. Great, Mayor, I thought you were gone too, can you help us build another warship? Gong Yi walked up to Mayor and patted Mayor on the shoulder a few times. After having Mayor, it is not only easy to go, but also very easy to come back. Yes, but I think it should be the material, otherwise it will be demolished here. Mayor nodded, expressing his willingness to help Gong Yi. But this is not a naval base, and he can't use his abilities indiscriminately. If it is not good, the timber of the entire female empire will fly over and turn into warships. As for the materials, leave it to the concubine is very willing to help Luffy. The Empress immediately raised her hand and said, and there was a Yuhi dizziness on her face. Okay, then trouble you, Hancock. Luffy clapped one hand on the Empress' shoulder, and then said with a smile. And the Empress was shot by Luffy like this, her heart rate exploded in an instant, and she covered her face and hid behind the stone to be shy. Luffy, he called his concubine's name. When the Empress was called by Luffy's name, her heart began to rise. Even the wedding scene of the two people was imagined. Don't be ashamed, go prepare the materials. Just when the Empress was embarrassed, the former king jumped up with a cane and struck the Empress on the head, making her return to her senses. If the Empress was just allowed to think wildly, she would be able to think of the next century. Okay, my concubine will go now. The queen was knocked back to her senses by the previous king, and immediately ran in to start preparing for Luffy. After an hour, the wood and iron and other materials were moved to the vicinity of the sea by the daughters of the country. Looking at these materials, when it was almost enough, Mayer called to stop, and then began to build the warship. Mayer turned his hand to the sea and chanted the incantation silently. After a while, the material on the land appeared on the sea level in the form of a boat. 4. Gong Yi, this ability is really unstoppable. No matter how many times you watch it, it's amazing. But Luffy was not so calm relatively speaking, looking around the ship in various ways, his eyes were full of stars. Okay, let's go now, or it will be too late. Just when Luffy and Kraft were thinking about each other, Jinbei suddenly interrupted their thoughts. Jinbei is right, after all, what Luffy is going to do must be published in the newspaper tomorrow, that is, today, they must make a big noise at the naval headquarters. Originally, Mayer also wanted to go with him, but Gong Yi was afraid that he would be pushed to the cusp of the storm, so he did not agree. But Mayer didn't give up, still pestered Gong Yi, and listed various benefits that he could bring. Gong Yi couldn't say anything about Mayer, so he agreed to take Mayer with him. But the premise is that Mayer must follow him, not alone. If he is caught in the Push City again, he doesn't think he has the ability to break in again to save him. Mayer naturally agreed to Gong Yi's request happily. In this way, Gong Yi, Luffy and other 5 people started to go to the naval headquarters. 877. The Navy Headquarters. On the sea route, it is not difficult to find the Admiralty because of the permanent record compass of the Admiralty. As for how this permanent compass came from, it goes without saying that Gong Yi took it. At the time of the Marin Van Do War, when the execution platform collapsed, a permanent record compass from the Admiralty fell off. As for which general it is not known, just take it and go. After arriving at the Admiralty, to their surprise, the Navy did not open the door for them and let them in. And at a glance it was obvious that they were not good people. Because in this era, the only people who can trespass the naval headquarters are pirates, and the Navy naturally thinks that the people on board are pirates. However, Luffy and the others did not show their faces, and the pirate flag was not hung on the ship, so the people in the Navy naturally did not know which pirate came. The pirates in front, immediately. Take it easy, or don't blame us for being rude. While Luffy and the others were discussing countermeasures, a voice suddenly came from above the naval watchtower. Jinpei and Rayleigh also knew that the matter had been exposed, and instantly prepared to turn around and find another way to get in. Just as they turned around, the Navy's artillery shells hit the road. Fortunately, Rayleigh reacted quickly, and the shells did not hurt the ship. Luffy, let's deal with the guy on the watchtower. Before reinforcements come, we must go in. Gong Yi patted Luffy on the shoulder, and after copying Luffy's ability, he said. Luffy nodded and rushed up with Gong Yi. The shells below were handed over to Rayleigh, while Jinbei was in charge of sailing the ship. But the moment Luffy and Gong Yi jumped up, they immediately collapsed to the ground. They never thought that the wall was actually made of Halu stone. Looking at the Navy soldiers who are close at hand, they have no ability to fight back. If you kill you, it will increase in value, 400 million heads. Soldier looked at Luffy with greed in his eyes. Luffy's 400 million head count, everyone wants it. The Navy can not only get bounties, but also get promoted, so Luffy's head is a treasure in people's eyes. Just when the Navy was about to strike, he suddenly felt something was wrong, and immediately fainted. Next second, Rayleigh jumped on the wall, and Luffy and I took him on, jumped back to the boat, and said, "What 2 restless brats." He originally wanted to stop Gong Yi and Luffy, but Gong Yi and Luffy didn't listen to the others. Next, Rayleigh threw Luffy and Gong Yi onto the boat, took out his jug, took 2 sips, used armament hockey, and kicked the door with 1 kick. This door is not ordinary hard, and ordinary pirates can't open it at all. But Rayleigh is a normal pirate, isn't he? The deputy captain of the dignified Roger Pirates is naturally not an ordinary pirate. With just 1 kick, he opened the door of the sea tower. Fortunately, Rayleigh is not a person of ability. If he is also a person of ability, it will be a big problem. Jinping, sail the boat and break in. After the door opened, Rayleigh asked Jinbei to quickly drive the boat and break in. Reinforcements will arrive soon. If you don't hurry, you will really be blocked in front of the door. Jinbei nodded, then picked up speed, and their ship rushed all the way to the Admiralty. Since it was still night, the Navy was urgently dressing up to fight, so naturally it was a bit sloppy. Next, they began to develop the countermeasures they discussed while in the forest. The 4 of them acted separately. Rayleigh temporarily dealt with the reinforcements in front of the door, while Jinping and Gong Yi ran rampant in the naval base, referred to as demolishing the house, and beat the Navy by the way. And Mayer and Luffy went into the interior to deal with the Navy. Mayer's combat effectiveness was not high, and Luffy protected Mayer. Mayer was demolishing as he walked, slowing down the statues of the 5 of them throughout the Navy. There are wood, iron, and stone. Almost half of the Admiralty was demolished into statues. This is not the headquarters of the Navy, but the headquarters of this sea area. Naturally, there will not be 2 powerful characters. With Rayleigh there, even though Gong Yi and Luffy haven't grown up yet, it's not a big problem. Then half an hour, in front of the gate of the naval headquarters, there were all the corpses of the Navy and the fainted Navy, and several lieutenant generals appeared from time to time. But for Rayleigh, they are all beings that can kill in seconds. Of the naval base is basically full of statues of the 5 of them. Found the straw hat. While Luffy and Mayer continued to make trouble, they were besieged by the Navy. Next, the Navy shouted in unison, which undoubtedly attracted a lot of Navy. But for Luffy, these small characters are not too big of a problem, and they are solved in 3 or 2 times. After taking out the Navy, Luffy and Mayer move on. And the strange thing is Gong Yi, he ran all the way in, he didn't even get close, but he never saw a Navy. He was also destroying while walking, unlike Luffy who was besieged. A while, Gong Yi was also helpless. It seemed that he really needed to improve his appearance, and it was best to have a reward order to come down. 878. The Surprising Fruit, Second More. Gong Yi, who was destroying and advancing along the way, unknowingly came to the door of a room. This room is very strange, not like a sleeping place for the Navy, but more like a utility room. Gong Yi didn't think too much, and smashed the door open with a fist. He was using Luffy's ability now, so this door is naturally a no-brainer. After breaking the door, Gong Yi walked in. Nothing in the huge room, except for a locked box in the center of the room. In such a big room, there is only 1 box, which makes Gong Yi extremely curious about what it is. But it seemed that the owner of this box didn't want someone to be able to open the box easily, so he dropped a dozen chains in a row, almost enclosing the entire box. Looks like the only way to do it is to remove the chain. But the chain was made of Halu stone, so Gong Yi was completely powerless just touching it, let alone opening it. Just when Gong Yi was thinking about how to open it, a voice suddenly came from the door, "Put down that box." Gong Yi turned his head. After taking a look at the person who was speaking, it seemed that he was the owner of the naval headquarters. If Gong Yi guessed correctly, the key to the box should be on this person. Sears have a share, why should I let go? Gong Yi didn't. If he could touch the box, he put the box behind him and guarded it tightly, looking like a ruffian playing a rogue, just not returning the box to the Navy. Then don't blame me for being rude. The Vice Admiral saw Gong Yi, no, buying it, blue veins burst out on his head. In order to get the box back, he chose to fight Gong Yi. This is what their naval base wants to donate to the Tianlong people, and the news has been released. If it is taken away now, wouldn't he be guilty of deceiving the Tianlong people? If this is the case, then he is almost the same. Done. And just like that, Vice Admiral and Gong Yi are. Not to mention fighting. I have to say, the lieutenant was a little bit more difficult to get, but he was still defeated by Gong Yi. It just took a little more time. Afterwards, Gong Yi thought about it. Since he is the owner of this fortress, the key to the box must be on him. But what Gong Yi didn't expect was that when he fumbled around in his bag and found the keys, he found almost 24 keys. And each key is still unclear, so when he wants it, he is reluctant, but in order to understand what is in this box, Gong Yi can only choose one by one to try. Originally, Gong Yi was no longer interested, but the lieutenant general said that this was to be given to the Tianlong people, and he became interested again for a while. Gong Yi is not stupid. What does it mean to give it to the Tianlong people? The precious value of this thing can rival the treasures given to the Tianlong people. Naturally, it is not a simple thing. After trying for a while, Gong Yi finally unlocked those layers of locks. But what Gong Yi didn't expect was that the keys for these locks were the same. He still didn't find it too early, or he wouldn't have to try to die. But it has been opened. It is useless to think too much. Gong Yi is more curious. Still, what is this thing? The moment he opened the box, Gong Yi was dumbfounded. What did he see? It turned out to be a devil fruit. Gong Yi never dreamed that there would be a devil fruit hidden in this small naval fortress. Gong Yi really felt that the key was not tried in vain. But since he has already eaten a copy of the fruit, he can no longer eat the second one. Although Blackbeard is special, he is not Blackbeard after all, so it is better to be careful. Afterwards, Gong Yi left here with the devil fruit. The damage was almost the same, and he was not interested in staying any longer, so he left here with the fruit, and went out to join Luffy and the others. Gong Yi came out. Jinbei, Rayleigh, Mayor and Luffy were already on board. In the vicinity of the ship, many navies fainted. The ship they were on also seemed to have been reproduced. It's figured out, Gong Yi, just waiting for you. It's almost time. Let's go. It's time to go back. Luffy looked at Gong Yi, who came out, waved his hand, and said. Gong Yi nodded and jumped onto the boat. Jinbei drove the boat, and the few people left the naval base. I found this in a room inside. Gong Yi didn't hide the devil fruit, and put the fruit he got on the boat. After seeing the fruit, everyone was surprised. This small fortress, there will be a devil fruit, but no one is interested in this fruit. Rayleigh is too old to eat fruit anymore. Jinbei, as a Murloc, naturally doesn't want to be a landlubber. And Luffy and Mayor are both people who have already eaten. You keep this fruit first, maybe it will be useful later. The end. Rayleigh offered to let Gong Yi put it away first. Gong Yi also nodded, then put away the devil fruit. 879. 10th Ni Supernova. Although Gong Yi doesn't know what power the fruit has, it's not a bad thing to carry. If he could, he might still be able to eat the fruit. Although he has no way to eat this fruit now, it does not mean that there will be no way in the future. After returning to the daughter's country, because the 5 people made a lot of trouble in the naval fortress, they were naturally tired. After arriving in the daughter country, several young people fell asleep on the deck of the ship. The only people awake were Shippen and Rayleigh. You should rest early too. Rayleigh looked at these sleeping little guys with a kind smile on his face, then took the blanket sent by the Empress and covered the 3 little guys. Although they have experienced a lot of ups and downs, it is better to cover them. The old man is also asleep. Go inside. Jinbei looked at Rayleigh and nodded. Although he wasn't too sleepy, when it was time to sleep, he naturally went inside and prepared to sleep. In the end, only Rayleigh was left awake, sitting on the deck and looking at the sky. Roger, these 2 little guys really have the style of your past. Rayleigh sat on the deck and sighed. Since Roger died in Rogue Town, he has looked at the starry sky countless times, as if Roger was in the sky, and had a cordial dialogue with him. Immediately, Rayleigh's eyes fell on Gong Yi and Luffy. He couldn't see people wrong. These two little guys will definitely become great things in the future. At some point, Rayleigh also fell on the deck and fell into a deep sleep. By the time a few people woke up, it was already the next day's noon. Was the Empress who brought a newspaper and called a few people up. Because it was a newspaper matter, a few people quickly came to their senses. Looking at the newspaper, I just read it roughly, almost the whole newspaper is reporting on their affairs. There are a total of 4 topics. 44. The Straw Hats broke into the naval base once again. The deputy captain of the Roger Pirates and the Straw Hats joined forces to destroy the new recruits at the naval base, and Gong Yi stole the treasures that the Navy gave to the Tianlong people. The most worrying thing is not them, but Luffy. But in the end, Luffy and others were not lost, and the photo of Faye was indeed published in the newspaper. The message he wanted to convey to his partners was also successfully photographed. In this way, Luffy can practice with Gong Yi for 2 years with peace of mind. But for these titles and photos, Gong Yi is ashamed of him taking away the box were attached, but it didn't show that he took away the devil fruit. But this behavior undoubtedly put Gong Yi on the cusp of the storm. Point is not to steal the treasure, but to steal the treasure that was given to the Tianlong people. Everyone knows how much power the Tianlong people have. If they dare to attack the treasures of the Tianlong people, they will naturally be targeted. In the newspaper, there are several new wanted notices. Among these pirate wanted orders, there is undoubtedly one of Gong Yi. But what is surprising is that Gong Yi's bounty amount is 150 million won Bailey. This bounty amount directly exceeds the original Luffy. Some people even commented that Gong Yi was comparable to the worst offspring, Supernova 11, and even directly threw him into the worst offspring. Supernova 11 people instantly become Supernova 12 people. But Gong Yi thinks it's good. This way, it will almost be his news in a short time. He wanted to prove to the world that he existed, and he did. But what he didn't expect was the next one among all the wanted orders. That's right, this wanted notice belongs to Mayor. Since Mayor and Gong Yi are both newcomers, Mayor is also honored to be the target of a bounty through Gong Yi's light. Reward amount is not low, it is 60 million. After all, Mayor is a character who came out of the Advanced City, so naturally he used to be a pirate. This bounty amount is probably plus it. With 20 million added, it looks like I'm going to be notorious too. Mayor looked at his wanted notice and smiled. For a pirate, nothing is more exciting than increasing the bounty amount. Since you have already done what you have to do, then it is time to practice honestly. After reading the whole newspaper, Rayleigh didn't care about his own evaluation, stood up and said to Gong Yi and Luffy. Luffy and Gong Yi also nodded, indicating that they were ready. That, I have something to say. Just when Gong Yi and Luffy were about to try, Mayor suddenly spoke. What's wrong? Gong Yi looked at Mayor, who was a little nervous, and said suspiciously. Gong Yi, I want to be your partner. I want to get on your pirate ship. Mayor swallowed his saliva, but boldly expressed his thoughts. After a short time together, Mayor thinks that Gong Yi is a good person, and he wants to be a pirate, but there is no pirate group that he likes at present. So after thinking about it, Mayor wanted to go with Gong Yi. Gong Yi was a little hesitant about Mayor's request. He really wanted to form a pirate group, but now he can't. 880. Training starts. 4th update. Gong Yi knowing how to answer Mayor's question. After thinking for a while, he said, I will practice with Rayleigh for 2 years. During these 2 years, I will not go out to make trouble. If you want to go my ship, then 2 years later, I will wait for you here for 3 days, and if you still want, I will take you away. Gong Yi couldn't think of any other way, so he chose to explain to Mayor in this way. The past 2 years, he must practice here and not leave. But 2 years later, Mayer's mind might change. Gong Yi didn't want to tie Mayer, so he gave Mayer a chance to think. Gong Yi can see Mayer again after 2 years, then he will take Mayer with him, but if he can't see Mayer, it is a pity, he will go by himself and continue to find new partners. Okay, I'll wait for you, but I won't waste these 2 years. I want to go out and practice. Mayer nodded, unable to restrain his excitement. Since Gong Yi is willing to take him with him, what if he waits for 2 years? This is the permanent record pointer of my daughter's country. The concubine will give him to you. If you want to come back 2 years later, follow this record pointer and you will be able to return, here. Just as Mayer was about to leave, the Empress gave Mayer a copy of her record pointer. If he leaves here, Mayer may not be able to find him when he can find it, so the range of his activities is not large. But with this record pointer, it's different, he can go anywhere he wants, and he can get back successfully after 2 years. After putting away the record pointer, Mayer created a boat by himself, a pirate boat, but without a pirate flag. It can be said that it is just an ordinary boat. Mayer said that he wanted to join Gong Yi's pirate group, and naturally he would not hang any other flags. Gong Yi was also very moved. After saying goodbye to Mayer, he watched Mayer gradually disappear into the sea. After saying goodbye to Mayer, the next thing they did was to start practicing. Gong Yi can also basically understand a thing or two about the content of cultivation. After Rayleigh explained it carefully, he also thoroughly understood what they were going to learn. The first point is undoubtedly how to use domineering skillfully, and the second point is actual combat training. This beast in the entire forest is the key to their cultivation and training. Originally, the Empress wanted Tenten to give Luffy, Gong Yi and Rayleigh 3 meals, but it was mainly for Luffy. But Rayleigh stopped him. Originally the Empress was very reluctant, but after Rayleigh said it was for Luffy, the Empress reluctantly agreed. This means that it doesn't mean that Luffy can't be given food for 2 years, but it also means that he can't see Luffy for 2 years. Is undoubtedly a torment for the Empress. The person she loves is by her side, but she can't see it. But Rayleigh's tough attitude made the Empress unable to do anything, and the biggest limit was to be able to stand outside the woods. But the Empress is a little content, and maybe Luffy's voice can be heard here. After taking care of everything, they began their 2-year spiritual training. On the first day, Rayleigh briefly introduced domineering and domineering master methods to the two of them. The rest is undoubtedly for Luffy and Gong Yi to train themselves. After all, practice makes perfect, this idiom is not for nothing. And Rayleigh is not idle. When Luffy and Gong Yi are training, he is watching, preventing anything from happening to the two of them. Luffy and Gong Yi's current cultivation is not enough, they can easily die. It's okay for 2 people to work together to deal with a beast, but Rayleigh made a death rule that the 2 must fight 1 each, and 1 a day. This is very nerve-wracking, but in order to become stronger, they still choose to be obedient. At the beginning of the training, Rayleigh did not allow 2 people to use the power of the fruit. Simply put, it's use domineering to fight these beasts hand to hand. This is a pain for 2 young people who have no experience with domineering. In the first week, the 2 chose a beast each. Luffy chose a rhino that was taller than the forest, and Gong Yi chose a creature similar to a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but he didn't know that thing. These 2 are not small in size and cannot use fruit. The actual combat experience of the 2 is not too strong, and they are not able to skillfully use domineering. It is undoubtedly impossible to easily defeat these 2 beasts. Throughout the first day, Luffy was almost only beaten, but fortunately he was a rubber man and was not seriously injured. But Gong Yi is different, every blow is really hitting him, but Gong Yi still has some foundations in the Hokage world, and the injuries that are relatively good are not too hard. In this way, the first day of the 2 people's battle summed up the experience in 2 words: complete defeat. Fortunately, there was Rayleigh to help them fight the little beasts at night, so they wouldn't go hungry. Rayleigh said that this was just an early treatment. After half a month, if the two could not defeat a beast alone, then they would only be hungry. Eating is the lifeblood for Luffy, so using this coercion and lure, Luffy will naturally be able to get angry. Gong Yi didn't want to go hungry either. There was only one option: to work hard.